It's rolling right now, but when I count to 3 at 5, you start for me to edit it.
Yeah.
1, 2, and introduce your name and who you are.
Hello, my name is Stevan Plinck. I want to thank a good friend, Professor Paul Bertrand, for inducting me into the World Pugilist Hall of Fame. I know it wasn't just him, but he's here right now with me. I want to start out with expressing my gratitude for having learned the art of Silat. It has helped me immensely in my life because the analogy is, as it is in life, it is in martial arts. Both the same, they're equal signs. My history, I started quite young. I always heard of Silat from my family and my parents. They come from Indonesia. We're of Dutch Indonesian descent or Eurasian descent, not just Dutch. It just happened that Dutch ruled the Indonesian islands for 300 years, so we spoke Dutch. But we have a lot of other mixings in us. Anyway, at the age of 9, my grandmother showed me her suti hati out of her seeing me get beat up by some older school mates that I pissed off on the schoolyard. But anyway, to go on further, at that point in time, I studied with her for a little bit. And then my Uncle John, he had Minang Karbao, and I studied with him for a while. And then something happened. TV brought out karate. There was Chuck Norris, I think, was a big one back then. Bruce Lee wasn't quite there yet. But Chuck Norris was a big one back then. And at that point in time, I wanted to learn karate, so I learned Zenderu karate for a couple of years. I think I got green going to brown. I don't quite remember. They had a different numbering system. But anyway, I was at high school one day. I think I was 15 and walking in the quad, and I had my algebra book around my side and a bunch of other books, I'm sure. And up walks this guy that everybody knew as a Golden Glove boxer. Well, he took my clock, and I wish I had a video of how not to use an algebra book to block, because it did not work. So at that point in time, I went back to Silat. I earnestly started looking, and my first formal Silat teacher outside of my family was Guru Bazaar Arthur Remrath. He, at the time, had completed combat judo, combat jiu-jitsu, and several other silats, Mastika Kuitang, I think, a little bit of Minang, some Chimande, some Sutihadi, just a bunch, and put it all together. Oh, and he was also under the tutelage of my last formal teacher, Paul de Toires. Now, he was his Paul de Toires student for 6 years. During that time, I was training under Arthur's tutelage. He was under Paul's tutelage. So the core kind of molded into the SERA foundation of the Jurus and Lakas and stuff. But everything else was added. I was with him for about 8 years, 8 or 9. And then I felt in myself, I didn't feel the growth that I expected or wanted. So at that point in time, I searched out his teacher. And the first encounter with him, he was invited over to my uncle's house. We were there, and I was his demonstratee. The first thing I know is I was on the ground, and I looked up and I thanked God, because I was praying for 5 years to find a good Silat teacher, and he answered me, and there was Paul. So, the first formal class I went over, and he said, "Okay, Stephen, let me see your jurors." That was in 1980, I think, or 1981, somewhere around there. And so I'm doing them the best I can, you know, sweating, huffing, puffing, really looking good. And around Juror 10, in the middle of the Juror set, he said, "Stop." Now, my heart sank down to my gut. But I also realized that was the answer I needed to the question. And then I started under him. In '89, I left for the military. but I kept in contact with him, and during leave I would accompany him on his workshops in Germany, Oklahoma, lots of other places. And I kept in contact with him till 1996 or 97. Anyway, so that's pretty much my martial art career. Now, as far as SERA is concerned, there are many, many, many people with alternative histories as to where SERA came from, or what it is to be, or what it is to look like, or how it is to be expressed, or felt, or just numerous ways of expressing it. This is my take and my understanding of it. In the history books, it stated that Pak Sera, who was the founder of SERA, was a student of Mas Kair. Now, Mas Kair is the founder of Chimande, and supposedly legend has it, or story has it, that he came from the Bedouin tribe. Well, the story on the SERA side is that Pak Sera came from the Bedouin tribe. So I kind of put human nature together, and I would imagine that they both went down the mountain together. Using the buddy system would be better to go into a strange land. So it's known that Pak Sera, the founder of SERA, was under the tutelage of Mas Kair in Chimande, but he was also known as a Chikalong player. The difference between Chikalong and Chimande is more hard, Chikalong is soft. Though the movements are quite similar, the attitude and expression is just a little bit different. Now, it wasn't SERA yet, because along came Mas Jut, who's a Sundanese, and the major martial art in Sunda is Minang Karbao, which is the water buffalo style. Now, he already at that time was a bodyguard for sultans, and if you need to research that, because you have to be one badass to be a bodyguard for a sultan. But anyway, he met Pak Sera, who was crippled. I don't know how or what, whether it was a leg or an arm, or whether it was from birth or whether it was from combat. I really do not know. We don't have any history about that. But he studied under Pak Sera, and out of that came SERA. It was called SERA because Mas Jut said, out of respect for his teacher, he called it his teacher's last name, SERA. So that's how SERA started. When I was growing up and learning SERA, all the elders had different expressions of it, and for a while there I was confused, because I thought, well, there's only one art, so there can only be one expression. Well, I realize now, searching and researching the history, that, well, there are three main martial arts. There could be more in SERA, but I know of three. And those ones I know for sure I can identify and express in my judos. Therefore, we'll see the elders take one of those expressions, because that's what their body likes, that's what they like, and that's what they use. But anyway, that's pretty much SERA. In the process, I do want to give credit to all of my teachers, from Paul de Toires, Guru Basar, Arthur Remrath, my uncle, Guru John de Jong, and my grandmother, Herta de Jong. And also all the other people that I've met along the way that have shown, because every time you meet somebody, you learn they are your teacher, and vice versa, because it's always a sharing of knowledge amongst friends and fellow brothers. I want to give respect to Willem de Toires, because he taught me a lot too. Even though I was never formally under his tutelage, he showed me and taught me some things that I still take, and I practice wholeheartedly in my martial art. Well, I'm just grateful that I am able to express it still, and I thank God and where all the blessings come from. So thank you very much for your time.